Let's just do it. Okay. Well, welcome for all five of us that are here. Good. Okay. I'd like to call the MetroPlan Orlando Board meeting of March 11th, 2026 to order. Please silence all electronic devices. In addition, I'm asking everyone to speak directly into the microphone. This is important for recording purposes and for guests in the audience who have hearing impairments. Lisa, if someone cannot be heard, please make a point of letting us know. We have two opportunities at these meetings for public comments. Public comments on action items appearing on today's agenda are heard before we get to the action items, and public comments of a general nature are heard near the end. We have two opportunities, and then also today, anyone attending the meeting in person who wishes to make a public comment is asked to complete a card, and these are available at the reception desk or on the table near the door, and they should be returned to Lisa Smith. We want this and all future meetings to be accessible for everyone, and participants may join by computer, tablet, or phone. If you need special accommodation to participate, please contact MetroPlan Orlando. And I guess I'm going to ask Commissioner Janer to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, hey, there she is. Okay. All right, before we get started, I want to acknowledge and introduce our newest board member, Christopher Mayer joins us this morning. Hi there, from the Central Florida Expressway Authority. And I've enjoyed, oh, you wrote this in my note, I could have ad-libbed, that I've enjoyed serving with CJ already on the CFX board. So welcome. Would you like to make any comments to us this morning? All right, thank you. All right, so the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board met on February 12th, and Mayor Deputy Gilbert chaired that meeting and has a report for us this morning. Mayor Gilbert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. The TDLCB met Thursday, February 12th. Thank you. Forgot to turn that on. We welcome several new members. Ms. Jennifer Jensen, representing Emergency Management Services. Ms. Sharon Wright, Florida Department of Education, Vocational Rehabilitation, and also myself as chairperson elected official representing Osceola County. I was able to meet with Ms. Whittington prior for an orientation before my first meeting. On February 12th, action items included elections of the 2026 chairperson, Commissioner Myra Uribe, Orange County representative. We approved the 2026 TDLCB bylaws with few minor revisions. The 2026 grievance procedures were approved, needing no updates. We approved the membership of the 2026 Quality Assurance Task Force and the 2026 Grievance Committee membership. We acknowledge the receipt of summary of public comments received at the November 12th, 2026 public workshop. We approved the minutes of November 12th, 2025 meeting and acknowledge the receipts of the summary of comments received at the 2025 TD public meeting held in November. We went through a very thorough process and a very good exercise that concluded with an updated evaluation instrument that will be used to evaluate access links. Our presentations include an update from Access Links and a presentation from Scout, Seminole County's new on-demand rideshare service. The next TDLCB meeting is scheduled for May 14th, 2026, right here at 10 a.m. This concludes my report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, are there any questions for Mayor Gilbert this morning? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for the report, Mayor. Okay. I know, if we wait about 2 seconds, I was going to tell you a little bit about Commissioner Raby attended the Transportation Day in Tallahassee on February 17th. And you got here, so would you like to make a few comments about the trip, please?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so Gary Huffman and I actually went to Tallahassee for the day, to attend Transportation Day. And I got to tell you, it was phenomenal. Of course, Secretary Perdue and all 7 secretaries were there. But what was very interesting was be able to go and actually see every section of the state and every sector and every sector's responsibility. But not only that, their passion. We saw everything from engaging more pedestrians, road safety. It was just every district really has a different take on what they're doing. But the best thing, and I want to advocate for this, is we were able to do the simulation training for jobs. So that was incredible. They are taking this trailer semi around the state and they're training individuals for DOT. And I know Gary did it and I did it, but we could get hired. We were so good. Where you had to, move dirt and things like this. And it's phenomenal to see DOT taking the lead. We also got to go up in a crane to really see how DOT handles bridges across the state of Florida. That was very nervous, but it was wonderful because you really got totally embraced in every aspect of DOT, what they do. And a lot of times, actually, it's more than asphalt, more than roads, emergency services, bridge collapse. And we really have a robust and Secretary Perdue's leadership is phenomenal. I see that Secretary Tyler's not here, but he can grill a mean hot dog and hamburger. So I believe he's for hire. It was really great to see all the secretaries kind of roll up their sleeves and embrace themselves with everyone that was there. And it was really nice to see a lot of young folks who work up in Tallahassee who were coming around and learning. But I would probably say the most impactful part of it was the educational simulation training that DOT does. And I encourage you all because they're really putting out individuals and young people who are ready to go to work, but with the skills necessary. So I don't know if Gary you and I were able to spend the day there, well, at least a good 4 hours and really embrace it all. And it was phenomenal. And I recommend it in the future. I'm going to take a moment of grace, Madam Chair. April 24th is our MPOAC quarterly meeting. Our keynote speaker will be Secretary Jared Perdue. I invite and encourage you all to come out. He will be giving us an update from the Hill, what's passed, what hasn't, funding, and all those great things that are happening across the state of Florida. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions for Commissioner Uribe? All right, seeing none. The next part of our agenda will be the MetroPlan Orlando Safety Moment. And so at this time, I'd like to hear from Mike Wilson on this month's safety moment. And I understand we're going to talk about bike safety.
Thank you, Chairman Moore. Good morning, everyone. Yes, March is Florida Bicycle Month. In prior years, when I've talked about bike safety, covered the issue of cycling facing traffic and how we've found that it's 5 times greater risk than going with the flow, regardless of what part of the road you're using. And that with nighttime, it's 5 times greater risk for an overtaking crash. So the importance of having good lighting. So let's set aside those risks and talk about what about if it's daytime and you're going with the flow? What are the risks that a cyclist has to be concerned about? Well, these are the primary types of crashes that cyclists have to concern about as far as motorists violating their right of way. The overtaking crash, of course, right hook crash where a motorist makes a right turn in front of a cyclist as they're passing. The drive out from a intersection or driveway, and then the opposing left turn. So you can see about 20% of those daytime crashes are of that type. So an important thing to understand is how much space cyclists have to operate with. And the law says that you have to keep as close as practicable to the right-hand edge of the road, but not if the lane is too narrow to share. Well, what does that mean? Well, here we've got an illustration of a standard 12-foot lane with one of the smaller cars on the road and a 3-foot passing clearance. And you can see that you can't even get a Mini Cooper to give you 3 feet of passing clearance within a 12-foot lane. So that means the cyclist doesn't have to keep to the right-hand side. And there are benefits to that for the cyclist, not only from discouraging the squeeze pass and getting a full lane change, but then also that right hook crash goes away because the motorist waits behind the cyclist and makes the turn after the cyclist has crossed the intersection. It also helps with line of sight. Sometimes there's shrubs and walls and things like that. So the cyclist who's farther left has a better line of sight for drivers coming out from the side. And it also improves line of sight at with the left cross crash, because sometimes cyclists are screened by parallel traffic. So all those benefits and more come from a cyclist controlling their entire lane. We call it lane control. It's a well-established practice. I've been using it for well over 30 years. It works extremely well. And what I like to tell people is that the faster you're going on a bike, the less you want to behave like a pedestrian, and the more you want to behave like a motorcyclist, because you're going to need that operating space as you go faster. This is a strategy that's been recommended by both of the national education programs, the Cycling Savvy and the League of American Bicyclists, the Canadian program, Can Bike, and it goes all the way back to the 1960s in the United Kingdom with their bikeability program. So it's a well-established practice, and it will keep a lot of cyclists safe. That concludes my safety moment for this month. Be happy to take any questions.
Okay, Commissioner DeWarry.
Thank you, Madam
Mhm.
Chair. Michael, and I know that we've all been very involved in safety, including yourself, especially on bicycles, but when you're talking to individuals a lot of times about bicycles, they believe that no matter where they are, they have the right of way,
Mhm.
even though they don't. No matter how big or small your vehicle is, no
Mhm.
matter how fast they're going, if they're on the sidewalk or the road, they believe that. How do you go about changing that mindset that
Mhm.
they're supposed to operate like a vehicle?
I think part of it is you have to experience what it's like to actually ride this way, because people can't.
I'm not talking about the driver, I'm talking about the bicyclist.
No, that's what I mean. Is for the bicyclist is that they're they're often trying to do things to stay out of the way, and they don't feel like they belong in the road system. They don't think that they're a regular vehicle driver. And that's because they've never really experienced what it's like to operate like a real vehicle driver. And so once you have that, it actually frees you and reduces your risk and reduces your stress. And so what I see in a lot of the excuses that cyclists make for their behavior is trying to cope with a system that they don't feel comfortable in.
All right. Yes.
Mike, I know you say that a bicyclist should go the same path of the cars. Now, I will just say, I feel uncomfortable. I always feel that if I could see a car, then I can try to prevent an accident. And there was a movie I watched where a kid was riding a bike and the driver was not paying attention and hit the child. And so you have no defense mechanisms. Can you explain why this theory works as opposed to the other? Just curious.
Yeah. Well, the vast majority of overtaking crashes are not because the motorist doesn't see the cyclist, unless it's nighttime, okay, in which case then it's an issue of how conspicuous is the cyclist. But in the daytime, it's the motorist misjudging the passing clearance. And that's why the lane control really it helps with that. I don't have close calls anymore. And when I started using this strategy, the close calls that I had with motorists virtually disappeared. And close calls, we now use close calls, near misses, actually as a strategy for assessing our safety performance when we install a new part of the roadway or something. Have we reduced near misses? Well, this reduces near misses.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, it's a great conversation. I think there's also a little bit of a definition issue for most cyclists. If they are road cyclists, then do they have the opportunity to share the road, or should they be sharing the road? And they should be following road rules. But in so many of our newer areas, we've installed, instead of a shoulder that is demarcated for a bike, which is what we call bike lanes in this area, we've installed a multi-use path. And so they are oftentimes encouraged to use a multi-use path, but the conversations I've had have been, well, but I'm not going as slow as some of the cyclists on the path. You've provided no space here. And the automobile drivers are really frustrated with them because they see this big multi-use path and they think, get up on there. And so there's some definitional issues. I will say that on our roadways that do have some dedicated space in a bike lane, it's oftentimes used as a swerve lane. And it was interesting that your modeling for the accidents was just a one lane each way, because we have so few of those roads anymore, which means that the really tragic accidents that have happened, at least in my district, have happened where there's a J turn happening. Someone's doing a U-turn, somebody else is making a right on red, and nobody's looking for a cyclist, and the cyclist is following across. So it's I think it gets more complex the more road users we have, but they should all be addressed equally, I think, in design. And that is the concern I think I have sometimes when we look at the modeling, because it doesn't take into account that if you've got multiple lanes and multiple things happening, as a driver, you're looking for the biggest of those distractions, and that's not going to be a cyclist ever, whether it's daylight or nighttime.
All right, anyone else?
Madam Chair, you might not be prepared to answer this question today, but I'm just curious. Recently I seen over on Careen Drive by East End Market, the city put in like raised barriers. Do you know, or is there enough data to talk about the safety of those raised concrete barriers as opposed to the little plastic pylons or the just lines? I mean, is there any data on that, or is that something fairly new? Because I hadn't seen it before, but it was interesting.
Well, we know that, again, the overtaking crashes are only about 5% of our crashes. It goes higher as you get into the serious crashes, like 10 to 20%. So the barriers can't prevent the turning and crossing movement crashes, those drive outs, et cetera, because you have to leave the spaces open, right, for vehicles to pass through. So they're limited into what they can prevent inherently, just to those overtaking crashes.
All right, thank you.
And then I had a question for you. So with the state looking at e-bikes, are you seeing any legislation or anything done by FD2 or anybody to talk about safety on the trails versus you've been talking more about in the roadways?
Right. Well, the bill that I believe is, I don't know if it's passed, others can address with that, but what they're talking about is doing a speed limit for sidewalk cyclists or sidewalk e-bike riders and on trails in proximity to pedestrians. We don't have data on how often e-bike riders are hitting pedestrians. That doesn't show up in our crash data because that wouldn't generate a crash report. What we have is all the crash data with e-bike riders colliding with motor vehicles. And what we see is that because of their increased speed, just as I explained, they're more susceptible to these right hook and drive out crashes because they need much more stopping distance than a regular cyclist because they're going so much faster. And the law is not going to be able to address that. Only really, I think, training can address that adequately.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mayor Gilbert?
Yeah, just to talk about that bill, it's a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit for bicycles when they're when they're on the trails. They have to notify when they're passing an individual walking. And there's a few more things, but the bill passed last night. So if we want to read up on that, thank you. I yield back.
Oh, well, that is good news. All right, now I would like to recognize Executive Director Gary Huntman for his announcements and the agenda review.
Good morning, Chair Moore and board members. This morning we have Joe Nunziata is here filling in for Stephanie Copolosos, and we also have Mayor Espinosa from Kissimmee and Commissioner Grieve from Osceola County joining us online this morning. So I'd also like to welcome Board Member Mayor. We've had a couple of meetings since I received a letter that he was the CFX appointment. So looking forward to working with him. I continue to stay close to the federal reauthorization for transportation. As part of the Ample Policy Committee, I participated in another meeting to discuss the Basics Act on March 4th. And I'll be in Washington, D.C. next week, Monday through Wednesday, also related to the reauthorization and having some meetings up there. We recently opened our 2026 Regional Transportation Survey and would like your help to spread the word. Many of you know that we do this in-depth market survey on transportation attitudes and trends every couple of years. Our last survey reached more than 3,100 Central Floridians and resulted in some valuable information that we use in a lot of our work. This year's survey, which will be handled again by Summit Survey Research, has been updated from 2024 and asks about a range of transportation issues from technology to funding. We'll gather responses through a public link that you can see here on the screen. And then curated online panels and through intercept surveys conducted within each of our 3 counties. For those, we're going to partner with UCF researchers. We hope that you'll do 3 things to help us make this successful. First, take the survey yourself. Second, urge family and friends to take it, and then share it. Lastly, share it on social media and through other channels that you have available to you. The survey will run through April 10th, and you can expect a presentation on the findings at the June board meeting. And while we're talking about spreading the word, we now want you to know that we now have an Instagram channel at MetroPlan Orlando _Orlando. We recently added this to our social media channels, so please follow us there. Last Wednesday, Laura Bauk hosted our latest safety speaker series as part of our safety action plan commitment. The topic was mass in motion and how kinetic energy impacts transportation safety. If you're interested in checking that out, you can do that on our YouTube channel. We continue to work on the Lake to Lake Regional Trail that you've heard about recently. I met with Dale Allen from the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation on February 24th. Then the 2 of us met again with DOT District 5 leadership on February 25th. The purpose of that is just a commitment that we made early on to keep DOT current on the work that's happening with that project. We have another meeting scheduled here this Friday to discuss further details of getting ready to submit the package and our request to get on the opportunities and priorities map at the state. I want to remind the board members again that have an interest in the MPOAC Institute that will be here in Orlando on May 1st. If you're interested in attending, I'm happy to get you registered for that. Your supplemental folders this morning include a hard copy of the presentation that I referenced, the March 4th presentation on the Basics Act. I include the slides for you to review and for your staff to get a better understanding of what the Basics Act will do for local governments, for MPOs, and for the state. I've also included a sample letter of support in the packet that you can see, and I'm happy to provide that electronically to board members in case you have an interest in submitting a letter of support for that. Chairwoman Moore, neither Secretary Tyler nor Jim Strohs could be here today due to other commitments, so we'll not have an agency report. And then I also want to let you know that for agenda item 11A, Ryan Matthews will be providing that update via a Zoom link that we provided. So there are no other comments or changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Huttman, for that report. And at this time, Lisa Smith will carry out the roll call and confirmation of a quorum.
Constantine. Here. Gomez Cordero. Here. Delari.
Here.
Demmings.
Here.
Dyer.
Here.
Espinosa.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Grieve.
Here.
Janer.
Here.
Nunziata for Capalusas.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Simrad.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Ortiz.
Here.
Uribe.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum.
That's a wonderful. It's amazing. It happens all from 9 o'clock to about 9:05. That was great. All right, this morning, our Municipal Advisory Committee report will be given by Commissioner Jordan Smith.
Good morning, Madam Chair. So the Municipal Advisory Committee met on March 5th. The MAC approved our February 5th meeting minutes. We then recommended approval of the following items: the amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 to 29-30 Transportation Improvement Program, and the amendment to the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We received 3 presentations. The first was a presentation on MetroPlan Orlando's Tracking the Trends program. We also received a presentation on the e-bike education pilot project for teens. And last was a preview of the fiscal year 27-28 Unified Planning Work Program. The MAC meeting next meets on May 7th, 2026. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much for that. And then up next for the Community Advisory Committee, we have Miss Judy Pizzo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board.
I'm Judy Pizzo, Chair of the Community Advisory Committee. At our February 25th meeting, the Community Advisory Committee members voted to recommend approval of amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program and to approve the amendments to the 2060 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We heard presentations on MetroPlan Orlando's Tracking the Trends program, the upcoming e-bike education pilot, and the Unified Planning Work Program. Members had many questions about the e-bike education proposal, and we are eager to hear more about it as it progresses at future meetings. On our consent agenda today is a recommended slate of names to fill 4 MetroPlan Orlando board appointments to the CAC. On February 24th, I chaired a selection committee made up of staff and partners who chose these candidates from a very strong group of 25 applicants. We urge your approval so that we may welcome them at the next meeting, which will be held April 22nd. You will find those individuals in this package on page 22. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pizzo. And then up next, we have from the Technical Advisory Committee, Mr. Miles O'Keefe.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. The Technical Advisory Committee met a few weeks ago on February 27th. Like the other committees, we met in person with a physical quorum. Our action items, all of which were unanimously approved or recommended for your approval, included our January 23rd, 2026 meeting minutes, an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program, and an amendment to the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We did have 4 common presentations that we shared with TISMO. One was the Florida Sunshine Law refresher, the Tracking the Trends program update, and presentations on the e-bike education pilot project for teens and the Unified Planning Work Program. We did not have any TAC-only presentations. There were no public comments received. And our next meeting is April 24th at 10 a.m. This concludes my report.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. And then for the Transportation Systems Management and Operations Advisory Committee, Ms. Christina Colon.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. The Transportation System Management and Operations TISMO Advisory Committee met on February 27, 2026. 3 items were approved at the February meeting. The first item was the minutes of the January 23rd meeting. The second item was staff's request to amend the 25-26 through 29-30 TIP. And lastly, we approved staff's request to amend the adopted 2050 MTP to reflect changes to the cost feasible plan. Information on the action items are included in your agenda this morning. We had one TISMO only presentation. Ms. Cheryl Bradley with the Eastern Transportation Coalition. Ms. Bradley gave a presentation on digital infrastructure in the operations environment to enhance safety and mobility. This topic is anticipated to gain momentum in the upcoming reauthorization. She also presented on the mileage-based user fee pilot program and provided a registration link to join for those interested in participating. The next meeting for TISMO Advisory Committee is on April 24th, 2026 at 8:30. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Seems like a lot of meetings on April 24th. Okay. Next up is any public comments, Lisa. I know that people can make them in 2 separate ways. One, in person, listed at the top of the agenda, and virtually by Zoom, using the raise hand feature during public comment to indicate you want to speak. And so at this point, Lisa, do we have anyone interested in making public comment?
I have not received any requests.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then at this point in the meeting, we have our consent agenda number 8. Do I have a motion?
To approve,
Second,
Gaynor.
Uribe.
Okay, so I have a motion or Commissioner Janer and a second by Commissioner Uribe. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, and now we're into other action items. And up first, we'll have Miss Taylor Laurent here from our own MetroPlan Orlando, and she will be talking to us about the TIP.
Good morning. I have one TIP amendment for you today. This is the addition of one new project into the Transportation Improvement Program for a railroad signal upgrade at Old Weatherby Road in Orange County. This is the addition of $350,000 in railroad safety funds for that railroad and utilities work. here in fiscal year 2026, so that work can be completed in the next few months. So unless anyone has any questions about this particular project, I'm asking for your recommendation of approval to the amendment as it's been presented today.
Move approval, Scott.
Second.
I believe it's a roll call vote, though.
Don't
Any
you have
any
a
questions first?
Don't you have a question? There's no doubt that we should approve this. That's not the issue. How many more issues are out there for these crossings overall? Has anyone done a survey?
That one I would actually need to check in with FDOT
If you can
on
get
to
back
be able
to
to
us, that'd be
confirm.
great. I'd just like to know, where they're at, size wise, not dollar wise, but just, where are they at and how many more are out there that we should be prepared to fund.
I'll follow up with FDOT.
Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, will you conduct the roll call vote, please?
Constantine,
Yes.
Gomez Cordero.
Yes.
Delari,
Yes.
Demmings,
Yes.
Dyer,
Yes.
Espinosa,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Grieve,
Yes.
Janer,
Yes.
Nunziata,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Moore,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Simrad,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Uribe,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And we have another item that will also be a roll call vote to be handled by Taylor.
So now I'm switching from my near-term planning hat to the long-term planning. We also have an amendment for the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And this is an update to an existing project within the cost feasible plan for State Road 60 from Prairie Lake Road to the Florida's Turnpike, widening that roadway to 4 lanes. There is additional funding here in the near term that is expected to be able to advance that project's design phase to make it cost feasible within the next 5 years. So this amendment is being proposed to maintain planning consistency with this FDOT-led project. And with the addition of this new funding, there are no changes to any of the other 2050 MTP projects or their cost feasibility due to this change. So unless there are any questions about this project, I'm also asking for your recommendation of approval to the proposed revision to the 2050 MTP as it's been presented today.
Motion to approve, Janer.
It's roll call. Are there any questions? Okay, it's a roll.
You still need a motion though.
Before the roll call?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right. Motion by Jana. You need a second. Second by Scott.
Constantine,
Yes.
Gomez Cordero,
Yes.
Delari,
Yes.
Demmings,
Yes.
Dyer,
Yes.
Espinosa,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Grieve,
Yes.
Janer,
Yes.
Nunziata,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Simrad, Smith,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Uribe,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you for that. And now we have Alex Trauger, who will be talking to us about the approval of the 2027-28 draft Unified Planning Work Program on page 51.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. At your places, and this is a follow-up presentation to what you saw last month, but at your places in your agenda packets, section 2, page 51, you'll find for your draft approval today, our draft UPWP. And again, that is federal terminology for MetroPlan Orlando's annual operating budget. It is a 2-year operating budget updated annually. Much of what's in the document, substance and structure, is required by federal law or state guidance. So not a lot of change there as it relates to the document itself. On the revenue side, in current year, we have a lot of federal discretionary grants, both for safety, but also for some of our forecasting TSMO projects. Between current year and what's going to be spent next year, you're going to see kind of a tapering off of federal discretionary grants. That doesn't mean our revenues aren't going to go up. We just can't show those discretionary planning grants that we have not yet received. So we'll still be pursuing those as they're put out by FHWA. Just can't show them in the budget until we get approval on those. So we are seeing those taper off, but as it relates to federal formula funds as well as our local revenues, relatively stable over the next couple of years. Through our UPWP, we also pass funds through directly to links for them to conduct a strategic transit planning but also to administer the Transportation Disadvantaged Program. So you'll see those monies transferred to links. As it relates to planning activities, core requirement of the UPWP is to list those activities, those plans, those products in a schedule for work and who will be doing that work. So what you'll be seeing at the podium here for the next couple years, a lot more safety. Laura from our team is going to be presenting to you at your next meeting, so I don't want to steal too much of her thunder there, but you'll be hearing a lot more about continuing the momentum on our safety action planning regionally, but also adding value locally. We adopted the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan that you're aware of. There's a lot of follow-up items that were identified, topics that we just scratched the surface on that we need to research and better understand so we can bring that information back to you for informed decision making. You'll also see a continuation of our annual traffic signal retiming program. So retiming the signals out on your systems as well as the state's arterial system, but also conducting before and after studies to making sure we understand the benefits, the implications of our investments. You'll see presentations later today on Tracking the Trends program. We also have a regional data acquisition program where we acquire data, and those subscriptions are provided to each of your municipal partners, which has been very successful over the past few years, and that's going to be continued to be funded in the draft UPWP. You'll also see a lot more research over the next few years, both presented here, but also published from us, similar to the e-micromobility primer that was put together. As we've talked about in my last presentation, we also have in the hopper, kind of in an editorial review right now, a white paper that's looking at balancing emergency response with traffic calming. So coming soon, stay tuned. But we're going to be addressing other relevant topics over the next couple of years, presenting that to you again so you can make the most informed decisions possible. Also continuing our public participation, both online, virtual, but also in person. You'll see us out and about over the next few years. Gary mentioned our public opinion research. We do that on the even years, every other year on even years. So you'll see a continuation of that work going into the first year of our UPWP and then initiating the work in the second year of our UPWP. So with that, where we're at, inflection point today is asking for your approval on a draft document as provided in the agenda packet today. With that approval, we'll transmit that formally to FDOT and Federal Highway for their review. From what I've gathered, they've already initiated that to expedite things. But with your formal approval, we can officially transmit that, get their comments, incorporate that feedback, and then bring that back to you for formal approval, final approval at your May meeting. So with that, I'll do my best to field any questions you have here today. Also have our finance director if you have any tough accounting ones, but we're here to field any that you may have. Thanks, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. I know Commissioner Delarey asked to speak, and I think Commissioner Wilson's next. No, all right, Commissioner Delarey.
Well, first of all, I'd like to make the motion to approve the Unified Planning Work Program as presented here today.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Delarey, second by Commissioner Gomez.
Then
Cordero.
I have a question, Alex.
Oh.
With everything that's going on with AI, and I believe that the traffic signalization timing is great, but have we looked at using AI to do that so that we have to keep on paying?
The timing itself?
Yeah.
The retiming or the
whole
kind of automated signalization?
However it works with AI.
I'm going to yield to our in-house expert.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, board, and good morning, Commissioner Delarey. So we are going through a transition with our traffic signal retiming program, where we're going to start to integrate more technology, including AI. But we need to understand what AI can do and what it cannot do. And so the process that we're going through will be how we develop the intersections and roadways for retiming, and then how we evaluate those. Along the way, we will look at how AI can be integrated with the new platforms that are being developed. So we don't want to rush in to using and looking at AI as the answer to some of the challenges we have, but it will be considered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? All right, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Delarey, seconded by Gomez Cordero. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, D, We are going to be looking at the approval and acceptance of the FDOT annual certification, by Mr. Jonathan Scar.
Morning, Madam Chair and MPO board members. This morning, I'd just like to briefly update you on the joint certification from 2025. So as a reminder, we must jointly certify, when I say we, the district, FDOT, and the MetroPlan Orlando, we must jointly certify on an annual basis. The certification process is split into two parts, and part one is completed by the MPO. That covers plans, policies, and data collection, as well as cooperative efforts with neighboring MPOs and TPOs. Part two is completed by the district, which is an evaluation process focused primarily on invoices, procurement, and planning documents. If any of the processes do not meet the level of statute, the district can then issue recommendations or corrective actions where we will monitor these processes more than on an annual basis. So again, this year, we started the review process in January, and the final certification package will be going to the Office of Policy Planning by June 1st. From that point in time, it'll be forwarded to Federal Highway and FTA. I'd like to say that, again, we're happy to announce that MetroPlan represents a low risk. We presented these results to the director and staff on February 11th, and we look forward to our continued collaboration. And Madam Chair, that concludes my brief. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Scar this morning? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Scott, second by Commissioner Gomez Cordero. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Scar. All right, and our final other action item for this morning by Mr. J. Small, election of new Orlando Board Chairperson. There you are.
How are you? Good morning, Chairwoman Moore and board members. Today we're going to be dealing with an election of officers. Just as a little bit of a predicate, as everyone I'm sure is familiar, the organizing statutes that control MetroPlan are found in Title 25 of the federal statutes, and at the state level, it's Section 339-175. I view those as sort of the Constitution, if you will, for this board. The statutes, if you will, that follow that Constitution are in the board's policies and procedures, which are from time to time amended. Those policies and procedures are consistent with both of those statutes. And then we have sort of our common practices and procedures. The common practice and the way that our policies and procedures operate is that the board elects officers each year in December. Since Commissioner Moore has filed to run for the Popka Mayor's office, she's required to resign her position on the Orange County Commission, and my understanding is that she has done so. The effective date of her resignation is April 27th. Because MetroPlan's board will not be meeting in April, this will be her last meeting where she will be serving as the chair of the MetroPlan board. I've expressed on a couple of occasions to Mr. Huttman that my personal preference is not to have any vacancies in any of the elected officers of MetroPlan. And I'm most comfortable when the board has a full slate of officers, especially as it relates to the position of the chair. So, without any action by the board today, Commissioner Moore could continue to serve as chair until April 27th. In that role, she could continue to carry out her duties as chair that may occur over the next few weeks. Absent any action by the board regarding this matter, according to its internal operating procedures, the vice chair would automatically move into the position of the chair on April 27th and serve until the remainder of the regular election term of officers again in December. Should the board honor its customs and practices, the rotation of officers would take action. And this morning, we have an advertised agenda to elect a new chair. What I'm requesting is that I have a motion for an Orange County Commissioner to take over and serve as the MetroPlan Board Chair for the remainder of the 2026 term. So that's the specific request that I have, and making staff request, but because we're in a little unique position that the decision was made to have this run through legal counsel. So with that having been said, can I have a motion to have a member from the Orange County Commissioner serve as remainder of the 2026 term? That would be a motion. I'd need a second. It would be voted as a non-roll call vote.
Can I make a motion? I would like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Gomez Cordero as to fill in the remainder post of chairman for the remainder of this year, which, if I'm not mistaken, Jay, come December, she would be off and we would nominate another commissioner to start the executive board again.
That's correct.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Uribe, but I would like to nominate Commissioner Wilson. Second. That position. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I?
Yeah. We had a motion. Commissioner Cordero, you're going to decline that?
Yes, I will decline. Sorry, but thank you.
It's okay. It's okay.
But then I have another motion.
Can I just amend my motion?
Oh, okay.
Well, the motion fails for lack of a second. If we can have a new motion.
Or I can amend mine?
You can amend it.
Okay, I would like to amend my motion to support Commissioner Nicole Wilson as
And I
incoming
second
chairman.
that.
So we've got a
If you
motion
accept.
and a second to elect Commissioner Wilson,
I accept the nomination.
right?
Thank you.
Hearing no other nominations, and I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, the motion passes. Commissioner Wilson, as is my practice with Mr. Hutman, when you assume position, I always try to schedule a meeting with the chair to make sure that I have an understanding of your agenda and how you want to operate. So we'll be contacting you to schedule something shortly in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Okay, so then we're back to the information items for acknowledgement, number 10. And
Madam Chair, move to approve the information acknowledgement items on the agenda.
Second.
okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Delari, second by Gomez Cordero. All in favor of the motion to accept the information items for acknowledgement today, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And then for other business and presentations today, we have Ryan Matthews. Hopefully he's ready online. I understand he's going to make the presentation to us virtually.
Yes, I believe Ryan is online.
Okay, Ryan, you're acknowledged. Ryan?
Morning. How are you all? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Turn him up.
I'm having computer trouble, so I apologize for the volume. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Ryan. You're recognized.
I appreciate it. Apologies for the technology issues. We are now in day 58 of the 60-day legislative session. Very clearly, we are not going to end on time, or at least at minimum, the legislature is going to have to extend. The reason for that extension is going to be, again, budget disagreements between the House and Senate. We have an issue of contention between both the House and Senate and the House and Governor as it stands currently. The thinking right now is that we will likely sine die on Friday, meaning session will end. Policy that has not passed will die, and the legislature will come back in late April to do a couple of things. They're likely going to have a special session as it relates to congressional redistricting. as it relates to property taxes, as well as finishing the budget. As you all are aware, the House is the only chamber to date that has passed a property tax measure. They passed a property tax measure in week 6 of session, HJR 203, which proposes a constitutional amendment to create an exemption for all non-school homestead taxes beginning January 1st, 2027. The Senate and the governor have yet to put a proposal forward. So right now, the House is languishing in terms of being the only chamber that has put forth a property tax resolution. The Senate is likely not to put a plan together in the next 2 days. So we've got jockeying back and forth between the chambers on a number of policy items as it stands right now. Most directly related to MetroPlan would be Senate Bill 382, dealing with micro-mobility devices. This bill would create a micro-mobility device safety task force to recommend improvements to state law governing micro-mobility devices. It also will put a minimum speed or a maximum speed on operation of an electric bicycle on a sidewalk or any other area designated for pedestrians, basically capping that speed at 10 miles per hour if there's a pedestrian within 50 feet of the electric bike. As I mentioned, the biggest issues to date are still being considered in the last 48 hours. One of those is the state transportation package, the DOT package, House Bill 543, which is a significantly substantive transportation package, but right now it looks like it's dying, quite frankly, and that bill will not be passed. There are multiple other bills that have been filed as it relates to transportation and traffic offenses, probably 8 to 10 bills that are going to die on the calendar with the legislature ending their work this Friday. So again, the thought process as it stands today is that the House and Senate will finish their work on Friday and then come back likely in late April to take up property taxes, the budget, and congressional redistricting. To date, only 80 bills have passed and been sent to the governor. So we really have not much happening in Tallahassee, considering there were about 2,000 bills that were filed. I want to toss it to Angela because she's going to talk a little bit more pointedly about the budget and sort of where we're at.
Good morning, and thank you, Ryan. The governor's budget recommendation totals $117.4 billion. These recommendations were released back in December. And to give you an idea, our current budget this year is also $117.4 billion, and that was after $567 million in line item vetoes. And again, that's the current year budget. The budget proposal that the House has put together totals $113.6 billion, and the Senate proposal is about $115 billion. And the gap between the House and Senate proposals, so it's about $1.4 billion, which is actually relatively small when we think about last year, and the gap between the two was about $4 billion. So considering the overall size of the budget, the $1.4 billion doesn't seem that much, but there are still several significant policy and funding differences that will need to be resolved before we have a final work product. That being said, looking at transportation funding specifically, the Senate budget includes $12.56 billion for the Transportation Work Program from the Transportation Trust Fund. For comparison, the current year Transportation Work Program totals about $13.5 billion. The Senate proposal also includes $100 million for local transportation projects, and that's actually funded out of the Transportation Trust Fund rather than general revenue. And these funds are tied to, if you think of, member road projects, member appropriation requests. For the Transportation Disadvantaged Trust Fund, the Senate budget includes $66.36 million in total funding. So this includes a $4 million increase to the Transportation Disadvantaged Trust Fund Budget Authority, as well as $6 million for the Innovative Service Development Grant Program. On the House side, the budget includes full funding of the Transportation Work Program, and the total FDOT budget as proposed is $14.4 billion. It includes $95.7 million for local transportation projects, also funded through the Transportation Trust Fund. And for the Transportation Disadvantage Program, the House budget includes $62.36 million total, which is with also the $6 million in non-recurring funds to continue the Innovative Service Development Grant Program. So for Transportation Disadvantage, the Senate proposal is it's certainly more favorable with some additional, the $4 million increase in budget authority for that. And then again, to Ryan's point, obviously they're not finished with the budget or policy at this point. But as soon as they are, we will provide a written report with an update on policy of what has passed, what hasn't, and also a look at the final budget totals for everything mentioned this morning. I think that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to, if there's any questions for us.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And any questions for our speaker?
I'm just curious if they care to share any insight on how they perceive the viability of property tax reform or redistricting. Just getting their thoughts.
Okay, Ryan, did you hear the question? It was by Commissioner Scott about the viability of any of the special bills on transportation during redistricting and during the special session.
No, she said property tax.
Just
No,
property tax.
property tax and redistricting, congressional redistricting. I'm just curious their thoughts.
Okay, property tax and redistricting.
Thank you for the Commissioner. I do think there's a very good chance that something appears on the ballot in November as it relates to property taxes. Now, whether that is the current full repeal starting January 2027 as the House has proposed, I don't know. The Senate, both publicly and privately, has said that they would rather have an increase to the current exemption, probably going another $50,000 up to $100,000 total from a homestead exemption. Quite frankly, conversations with legislators, they all recognize the handicap it would put on local governments from a revenue perspective to completely abolish property taxes. The House, quite frankly, put forward their proposal because the governor for the last year has utilized the narrative that property taxes need to be abolished. And quite frankly, I think it was you asked us to do this, we did it. Now we're waiting for your proposal. So I do think that the chances are pretty good that something goes to the ballot in November, but I don't believe that it will be the full abolition of property taxes as currently proposed by the House.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Redistricting too, Ryan.
So this is another schism between the governor and the Senate and the House. The governor pushed for redistricting to happen a couple of months ago, quite frankly, which led him to call the special session the week of April 20th. There is a pending Supreme Court matter for a case in Louisiana that most folks realize is pretty important to wait on before doing anything. The Speaker and the White House, or at least the House and the White House, have been pretty lockstep. So again, I do think we are going to go through a congressional redistricting effort in April, and one that will go to finality. The Senate President has said that he is also in favor of it, but he wanted to take a more wait-and-see approach and not necessarily do something quickly.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your report this morning. All right, and then we have, you're welcome. All right, our second presentation today is called Tracking the Trends by Mr. Slade Downs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board. Like you just said, I'll be giving you an overview and refresh on our Tracking the Trends program. So a bit of background, Tracking the Trends is one of our internal programs used to track historic data in transportation and identify trends over time. Like other MPOs, we choose to track metrics aligned with federal performance measure requirements, but we go further than that to kind of look at every data point and metric that addresses quality of life and transportation. So the full Tracking the Trends program includes an area profile, transportation highlights, the data library and the accessibility hub, and the system performance dashboard. And I'll give you a quick briefer on all of those parts of the program, but you can go to metroplanorlando.gov/maps-tools if you want to scroll through, click through, and play around with the options yourself. We update this program annually every year just to keep up with the data as it comes out, but this year it's a bit more of a full refresh just to align with our recently adopted 2050 MTP. So the first part of the program I want to tell you about is our area profile. This gives you kind of an overview of the region, the different characteristics, demographics, tourism challenges, that sort of thing. On the right, you can see one of our interactive tools that's on the site. It shows population density in the year 2000, in the year 2023, and you can slide back and forth. You can zoom in to your neighborhood, your city, your job, slide back and forth, see how the area has grown over the years. And then we also have our transportation highlights section, which is kind of a quick 5 to 7 minute shallow dive of different indicators and metrics that have come out of the MTP. A couple of things you might see there, like looking at our safety numbers, fatalities and serious injuries are both down for the second year in a row, which is always good. Number of vehicle miles traveled per person is up a bit, which just basically means year over year, Central Floridians are driving a little bit more every year. And there's a lot of different takeaways you can get from the transportation highlights section. Next up, we have our data library. So whereas the previous part of the program I talked about is kind of a shallow dive, this is where you get into the real granular data. If you are trying to, look at the hard numbers, this is where those are stored. So this is a little more geared towards our technical partners, but of course, the public, your staff, yourselves are all welcome to go in and take a look at the data yourself. Next, we have our system performance dashboard. This is where all of our federal performance measures live. So at our last meeting, Laura talked about some of the federal performance measures and target setting. This is where we store those and make sure it's kind of a easy to use one-stop shop for federal reviewers, but also anyone who's trying to go in and look at that data. So an example of what you might see there is on the right, you can see bike ped crash hotspots in and around Seminole County, but you can, just like the rest of the interactive maps, you can zoom in and out to your area specifically. And the last part of the program I wanted to tell you about is our accessibility hub. So accessibility is kind of how we determine how easy it is to reach different destinations of interest. So say like a neighborhood with a lot of parks and restaurants and services would have a high accessibility rating, and maybe a gated community with one entrance and exit would be a little less accessible. This hub lets you see kind of those scores, not just for specific points of interest, but overall accessibility scores across the region. Say you want to know where the nearest, how far your potential house is from schools in the area or parks or healthcare services, you can zoom in and out to the different points of interest on the different maps. And just like you can see where those points are accessible, you can also see where the gaps lie. So that's kind of where we have food gaps in the Hunters Creek, Kissimmee area. If a business, say, is trying to look at where they may want to open a new location, something like that. This data is good for that as kind of a first pass smell test. So all of these options, all of these parts of the program are available at metroplanorlando.gov/maps-tools. I'd encourage all of you to take a look, click around after the meeting, and let us know what you think. I'd be happy to take any questions. Thanks.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Downs on tracking the trends?
I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you for that presentation. Do you have any data or any support for the disadvantaged and how they transport? And when you're looking at these areas, it seems to be a topic of they're not just going to the doctors. They need to go to the grocery stores. They want to go to restaurants. They want to go shopping. So have you at all considered that in this data, since they're a growing population, also our seniors who don't want to ride links but qualify for access links?
I know that in some of these interactive maps, there are some that parse out specifically areas of persistent poverty. It's data metrics that sent out by the federal DOT. That kind of is a way of capturing that information, and specifically, not just crashes across the region, but crashes specifically in those areas of persistent poverty. I think that touches a bit on what you're talking about, but it sounds like maybe you're saying
We have a growing senior population, and then obviously we have lots of
Every year
individuals.
we get a little bit older.
Yeah, we do, Commissioner. But we also have lots with visual impairments, different disabilities that do not allow them to transport, whether car or just even on a bus. So knowing that we are a hub of people retiring here and like that, it would be nice for us to be a little bit more responsive to that community, so that could be an addition that we could add so that individuals can feel more confident in maneuvering and getting around in our community.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll
Okay.
look into that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner Wilson?
I'm kind of curious about, I haven't played with this much, now. But is the accessibility hub sort of getting to some of that as well? Because if you think about sort of the areas that are illustrated even in the demonstration about the walkability, how to get in and out without necessarily having to go out and around, wouldn't that potentially address some of that issue?
It does, but I think Commissioner Uribe kind of was trying to look at it a bit more specifically, honed in on that specific population.
It's because they're all over. I mean, it's not just poverty driven. I mean, they're functional people who have finances. It's just about how we can, you want to kind of create, I think the county has done an excellent effort of trying to become ADA compliant on our sidewalks and all these things to make it much more inviting for individuals to use our public transit and all that. And so it'd be nice to acknowledge that population as it continues to grow. I mean, we have our TDLCB meeting and riderships are going up. Requests for that are going up. They're not decreasing, they're going up. And so, and then when I look at what Seminole County is doing, even though your scout is not for seniors, you are seeing more seniors take it because they feel comfortable. So I think there's
Actually, we're not only seeing more seniors, we're seeing more females because the females feel safer.
So, so just, it'd be nice as we look at that holistically going forward. Obviously, you can't change the data now, but it would be nice to acknowledge that population that is very much here and a lot of times just overlooked in that sense.
Yeah, definitely something to look into. Thank you.
Mr. Hutman?
Yeah, Commissioner Uribe, I think you make some good points and good comments, and we'll look at that and discuss that with the Access Links folks and how we can maybe use some of their information in tracking the trends.
All right, Mr. Delary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of times, no matter what project you're working on, no matter who you are, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. It's a common phrase. But what really helps is when you do focus groups of different people or different age groups or different disabilities to understand exactly what they're going through. I will tell you, aging in place is a big thing. I was able and blessed to allow my dad to age in place. And by doing that, I learned so much about what it takes to be 95 years old. I mean, you got to be tough, but that's just a slogan. There's so many different things that you don't comprehend. winding the clock, going to the grocery store, as the commissioner talked about. Aging in place is one of the biggest obstacles that we're going to be facing as we get older. But doing focus groups, no matter what group you want to look at, I think is just as important. So anyone could hopefully try to understand what those groups, whoever those are going through. So I'm hoping that we're doing that.
Okay, anyone else questions? All right, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Jones. All right, and then finally, we have the last public comment period of the meeting and in person, listed on page 1 of this agenda, or it could be virtually with the raise hand feature during public comment. Just indicate you want to speak to Lisa, and she will let me know momentarily if you have an interest in speaking today. Lisa.
Yes, we do have a request from Ms. Joanne Canellis.
Okay, thank you. Joanne, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Joanne Canales, and I'm Joanne Canales, 324 Claremont Avenue, Lake Erie, Florida, 32746. Yes, that Scott made us wait a little too long and made Mary wait for 4 minutes. And me, last Friday, and then this, like weeks ago, it was me 3 minutes, and they're not fair to us people who rise in Seminole County. Well, we need a whole lot more car than that here because we don't have any bus in Seminole County anymore, which is also not good at all. So please get us a 24 hours bus and train service, including Scout. Make sure that no one don't have to wait so long like we all did. And please give us a 24 hours train service as well, so that for 7 days, including holidays, weekends, and nighttime, so that no one would be stranded like that. Please, God. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you for
Ms.
letting me share.
All right, thank you, Ms. Canales, for your comments today.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments, Lisa?
No more.
Okay, board member comments this morning? Okay,
Madam
the
Chair.
next meeting
Sorry,
is,
Madam Chair.
sorry, Mr.
So-
Mayor.
Yeah, or should I say immediate past chair?
Yeah.
Congratulations to Commissioner Wilson on being new chair. And I just wanted to say, because a few people came in late after this morning, but honored to be here representing CFX, as I was just recently the past chair there. So I'm very excited to work with each of you and see what we can do to move our region forward. It's kind of nice being back here. Years ago, I served as on the CAC. So kind of coming back, and transportation is near and dear to my heart. So it's an honor to be here as part of this board. So thank you. And then I also wanted to offer just a comment to Mrs. Cologne from TSMO. My day job is digital infrastructure. So I heard some comments on that, and I wanted to offer any assistance or anything I can do to help as you guys look at that. I know at CFX, I've challenged our staff there to look at digital infrastructure in our right of way. And we've got some initiatives that we're looking at there. So anything that I can help or provide input, not only to TSMO, but any of the counties, please feel free to call on me. Happy to help. Anything we can do to move our region forward. But other than that, thank you and congratulations.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate that, and the meeting is adjourned.
Wait, Commissioner.
Wait. Oh, I didn't, hold on.
So sorry.
I didn't see you down there.
Congratulations last night, by the
All
way.
right, oh, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for your comments, Mr. Mayor from CFX, and I would like to meet with you to discuss CFX using conservation land for roads and condemning it and taking it. I'd also like to schedule a meeting regarding Split Oak Forest as well as Eagles Roost. So what my office will follow up. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you. Just wanted to say thanks to Gary and the MetroPlan team for the Instagram. I think it's a step in the right direction. A lot of times folks will see what we're doing and say, you're spending money that And so using social media channels to explain to not just young people, but anyone wondering what we do, why we do it, and where the funds come from helps. So that when we go out into our respective communities or having community meetings or telling folks what's going on, they understand the backstory a little bit. And then we're just kind of giving more clarity. So I'm really happy to see us move in that direction. And so thank you to you and your team.